We didn't have sound. Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at a cursed village and a couple other sort of miscellaneous things around this area. Um, so off we go. Notice the eyes on these rats are messed up. Let's let one, Whoa. And when they hit us, they cause this buildup of a status effect. The status effect I'm just going to tell you because I don't know if I can safely trigger it without dying. But the status effect is madness. We've got these eyes of yellow that we're going to start picking up in this area. A shrub fruit bursting with ripened pulp. Grown in lands afflicted by frenzy. It's used for its pain-relieving properties, though it's also known to be a dangerous intoxicant. So we will, and we also got ourselves a yellow ember, a sign that the deceased has suffered from the flame of frenzy. This grape has ripened and burst. It's an ember taken from the eye socket of a corpse. So remember last episode we talked a little bit about the people whose eyes had been crushed. Different situation than this, but again we have this obsession with eyeballs. And let me see if we can't find... And here we're coming up to a village. We see this guy making camp over here. He's got, the same glowy eyes. And it looks like he's in pain. He holds his head. And then they just sort of explode out at us. We can see that guy, he's sort of in this like absurd pose. And we can see these people all sort of covering their eyes, trying to hold it. We can see where bodies have been burnt to try to stop the plague. But it hasn't worked. You can get embers out from inside the fire, and here we have more mice, I suspect, or rats. A tall, medium-sized wooden shield, light for its size and easy to handle, carried by soldiers of the village that is afflicted by frenzy. The yellow flame is a symbol of the affliction, serving as a warning to those who might approach the village. So yeah, just some cool little, like, environmental storytelling there. No NPC to explain what happened. basically just the environment. And here we have a Church America, the Kalu Baptismal Church, but it's been kind of corrupted. You can see these rats have shown up. And then once we get inside, we've got I think our first incantation actually. The Flame of Frenzy. Incantation originating from the maddening three fingers. Causes the yellow flame of frenzy to burst forth from the caster's eyes. The Flame of Frenzy deals damage and causes buildup of madness. The incantation also causes buildup of madness in the caster and is only effective against Tarnished. So, yeah, that basically it does the same effect that we saw coming out of those guys. But it's an incantation. It's based on faith. So it might be worth asking, hey, what do these people have faith in? Then that they're what would they worship that would cause that to happen? That's not where we want to be. We want to be on the other side. I don't think I can survive that fall either. There's another incantation I want to grab while we're here. Can I survive that jump? Yes. Shoot. No, come back! Shit. Okay, so let's look at what we got. First we got yellow flower growing in lightning-struck lands and blue, imbued with traces of lightning's essence. Not really interesting. But more importantly, we got a new incantation, the Lightning Strike. One of the incantations of the capital's ancient dragon cult. Summons a bolt of lightning that scatters and spreads across the surrounding area. The incantation can be cast repeatedly. Ancestors of modern dragons, the ancient dragons, had scales of gravel stone and wielded lightning as their weapon. It is said that they once attacked Lingdell, the royal capital. So, yeah. whoa! And then I just jumped off a cliff. Just no reason for it. Yeah, so I don't think I had that many souls. I'm not going to worry about it. You know, the ancient dragons are going to come up in a lot more detail later, but they're distinct from like a Gil who we fought a couple episodes ago. They are their own thing. As for why they attacked the capital, there really isn't a good explanation given. I have some guesses, but we'll talk about that later on. Okay, we're going to be entering another mine now. Again, I said all these little side dungeons have their own story. This one, too, was supposed to just be a mine for picking up those smithing stones, but things have gone wrong. We have the Misbegotten here who have sort of rebelled and taken over the mine. Getting a little freeze action. Here on my end, occasionally I'm getting a couple seconds lag. this is not the correct sword to fight these guys with. So you want a weapon that does bludgeoning damage, because they strongly resist piercing. But, it gets the job done. Eventually. Okay. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else of interest in here. I don't think there is. That leads to the boss. That's where we came in. And then I think we've already been down here, but I'm not sure. Nope. So just, soft cotton is basically just an item that, controls your fall, so that if you fall, you don't die instantly. Depending on how far you fall. Some, one thing I've seen people complain a lot about, and with good reason, is that, this game has really inconsistent rules about, fall damage, because sometimes, fall damage is based on sort of a scaling thing with your health, and sometimes there's a kill point, and if you fall past the kill point, you just die. Because they want to lock off some areas. So let's look at this rusty anchor, because I mentioned that there are some nautical themes in the DLC trailer, supposedly, and I want to talk about that. A rusty anchor wielded as a weapon. Each of its 4 flukes is thick and sharp, enabling piercing attacks. When the Tarnished left the lands between with their lord, that's Lord Godfrey again, one boat alone was said to have been left behind. And it's hard to say what that one boat was. We don't really get a satisfying answer on that one. But it does seem like that the original plan was to have a lot more nautical theming. For instance, we have the jellyfish, and we have the octopuses, and you know, there's this whole thing about water running throughout. So we're only 20 minutes in. I might have time to do a bunch of stuff that I thought I was going to have to break up into a couple episodes. We'll see how it goes. We may just do one extra long one and knock out a whole bunch of the and knock out a whole bunch of the Weeping Peninsula all at once. How many healing do I have? So this is our first, like, really, truly still manned, still worshipped Erdtree location. I know we did do a minor Erdtree in the woods, but it seems like that one had been abandoned or taken over by the demi-humans or something. And here we have, it's got a guardian, it's got all these pots. The guardian wields a huge staff, and these pots are sort of broken all around. And we're going to learn these pots can... Wow, already. These pots can literally walk and move. I love the design of this Erdtree Guardian, by the way. It's like it's wearing a dress, but not quite. Let's try that again. That was embarrassing. Perhaps we won't be knocking out as much as I thought we would. Sometimes you're backed up against a giant body pod and you don't realize it. Alright, so what we're going to learn is basically that dude with his giant staff is here to burst these pots open. These pots carry bodies, sort of like who are sort of like all put together into one kind of personality. Sort of like a collective unconscious type thing. And then they come here, they get broken open, and obviously this minor Erdtree is part of the root system. So they can return to the roots. So these butterflies, we're going to see there's multiple kinds of butterflies like this, and the flaming kind is just one type. Until very recently, everyone just sort of assumed that the flaming type was for Melina, because she mentions that she was burned. And a lot of her like whole deal has to do with fire. Um, because of how flame affiliated Mesmer is in the DLC trailer, the new theory is that those butterflies might have something to do with Mesmer. But here's the thing: Mesmer, uh, when Mesmer appears, he also has one like sealed shut eye. So there's a question: are Mesmer and Melina really different entities? Are they the same person? Are they related in some way? And I suspect that they are in some way related. Not just by blood, even though they probably are siblings, but also I think that they are from sort of a similar faction. Anyway. Um, so we have the Eclipse Crest Heater Shield, a medium-sized shield, easier to handle than a kite shield. The sun in Eclipse is said to be the symbol of the wandering mausoleum where the soulless demigods slumber. Now there, demigods is plural. This is a whole thing. Um, because in other places, soulless demigod is singular. Um, and there's all sorts of arguments about like the translation, because in Japanese you don't have to distinguish singular from plural. There's arguments about whether different items refer to different entities. There's a whole thing going on there. Um, but what it's in service of is basically what is... There are beings out there without... There's at least one being out there without a soul. Are there more? Okay, so here we have one of those spirits with the mushrooms coming up. He says, "The mausoleum prowls, cradling the soulless demigod. O Queen Marika, Queen Eternal, he is your unwanted child." And we're gonna see the demigod in just a second. But first, let's rest, let's level.
Spoken echoes of Queen Marika linger here as well. Shall I share them with you? In Marika's own words, "Then, after thy death, I will give back what I once claimed, return to the lands between, wage war, and brandish the Elden ring, grow strong in the face of death. Warriors of my lord, Lord Godfrey."
Okay, so there we have sort of
Shall
an...
I turn your runes to strength? Let my hand rest upon you. For but a moment, share them with me. Your thoughts, your ambition.
There we have a confirmation that what America was talking about in her first little speech. So her first speech was talking about you're going to be driven from this land. You're going to have your eyes dimmed. I'm going to take grace away from you. You're going to go to a foreign land and you're going to die. And then this speech was, and then after you die, I'm going to return that grace to you. You're going to return here and you're going to claim the ring. Um, and she's talking to Godfrey and his warriors. Um, but we've got here also a second uh, entity. This is not obviously a statue of Marika, even though this is a church. This is a statue of another man, and we're going to learn his name is Radagon. And we're going to get some details uh, on him as we go through the game. But he is perhaps the most important character. Shoot. And I need to look at the item that I just picked up because it's really important, but first let's make sure that we've actually cleared this graveyard. Okay, so let's look at some of the things that we just picked up. So over here in the church, we picked up a golden centipede. The golden desiccated remains of a centipede kept as a fetish by Golden Order fundamentalists, especially the hunters of those who live in death. As such, they're found near churches and similar. So yeah, that's basically Radagon's whole thing, is that he is the leader of the Golden Order, who hunts those who live in death. And the Golden Order has a lot of things going on. They aren't just hunters of those who live in death, but that's what they're most known for in sort of modern times. And we're going to find out that basically their reasons for doing that are a little odd. Meanwhile, we have this Tombsword relief, and this is sort of a pit stop, at least I hope. Unless I pulled every rat. But you can see it's just full of Trina lilies, just full of them. And when we go down here, there's always these dudes who I forget about and who can actually kill you very quickly. One exciting thing in the DLC. You see those explosive bolts that can, and like one of those can just shred you. In the DLC, there is an image of us wielding a weapon like that, but instead of firing once, it's like a repeater. It fires like 6 or 7 times. I'm wondering if they're trying to fix bows with that, but we'll see. Anyway. I mostly just want to look at this weapon, even though I'm told this is not a bad starter weapon. I don't think I'll be able to wield it because I don't think I have dex high enough, but let's see. Sacred Scythe. Actually, I don't have dex or faith high enough. But anyway, you can see at the top it's got like a bird as its as the wings of the scythe. A sacred scythe resembling a pair of white wings deals holy damage. According to pagan belief, white-winged maidens are said to be death's gentle envoys. And either this episode or next episode, we are going to meet a envoy of death in the flesh, and hopefully defeat him. This fight is a little difficult for where we are at this point, but I don't know, it might be okay because I do have a fair number of levels and a fairly leveled up sword. We'll see how it goes. It would help if I didn't just stand in the poison. This is not going ideally. Okay, probably don't run into the whirlwind of frost. For some reason I thought it was like an effect that, like, the visual remained, but it didn't keep doing damage. Yeah, we're definitely going to do 2 episodes on this bit. The good thing about these Evergaol fights is that Evergaol fights is that they're sometimes difficult, but that you always respawn right next to them. Help. In terms of starting builds, you can do worse than a Frostbite build, honestly. Frostbite does a huge amount of initial damage. And then also increases the amount of damage you take going forward. So it is a decent status effect. So the Zamor warriors are one piece of lore that I feel like just really could use some filling out. I doubt we get any of that filling out, if I'm being honest, but it would be very cool to get some more on these guys. So basically you can see they're frost themed, they come from the north. And they are ancient enemies of the fire giants. Shoot. Can't believe I'm getting so stuck on this lady. So yeah, if you think that was getting stuck, I guarantee you later in the game I will become millions of times more stuck than that. But let's look at the item that we got. Radagon Sword Seal. An eye engraved with an Elden rune. And note that the rune is this crisscross hatching pattern. Said to be the seal of King Consort Radagon. The seal represents the lifelong duty of those chosen by the gods. And there's an important question to ask here, which is simply this. Why did this random Zamor woman have his seal? And why, why was she imprisoned? So one very good reason to come down here, and notice that there are a ton of churches down here, but one really good reason to come down here is that it just has a billion um, upgrade materials for your healing. So, oh, there is the tower. Finally, I can return to our home bathed in rays of gold. Okay, this is the last thing we're going to do tonight, because I think my wife is about to start trying to put our kid down for a nap. But we will head on and do the tower. And then once we've done that, next episode, we will focus on sort of the walking mausoleum and the weirdness going on there. And that'll also be a good opportunity to do some of the nighttime bosses I've been avoiding so far. I bet you can hit me from there too. Yeah, good for you. Okay, so here is our first glance at the royal capital. You can see we're almost at the tree. We can see all these the Colosseum here. We can see all these beautiful buildings and this enormous dragon corpse. Remember that there was this mention of the ancient dragons attacking the capital. This is the Tower of Return that's supposed to let us go home. But unfortunately, it's a lie. It doesn't. We can't get there from here. We can only look and sort of wish we could. And here we have yet another one of these guardian golems. This golem has way too much health, but fortunately is massively easy to stun, so we can basically skip this fight and just sort of stun like murder. Notice he's powered by what appears to be the same magma that was used by the Refusants. In the trailer for the DLC, we see a being that's powered by similar-looking fire. And Miyazaki confirms in an interview that that is actually that enemy in particular is actually filled with burning corpses. And so there's this question of sort of how these golems, which are supposed to be inanimate, get powered. That continues to be open, but I think that might be a hint that they're burning not necessarily corpses, but life energy generally. Um, so the item we got was this Blessed Dew Talisman. A talisman depicting a drop of the Erdtree sap. And notice the drop is falling into a cup at the base. It was once thought that the blessed sap of the Erdtree would drip from its boughs forever, but that age of plenty swiftly came to a close, and with time, the Erdtree became more an object of faith. This is a big one for a lot of the content creators, including, Smogtown and Tarnished Archaeologists, talk a lot about the distinction between the Erdtree Age of Plenty, when there was this life-giving sap that just sort of dripped constantly from it, and then the sort of Age of Erdtree Faith, where um, the Erdtree no longer gave that sap, but people continued to worship it, and they make this distinction. Um, I don't know that it's that clear cut. I suspect that this whole thing in the DLC of the source of the Erdtree being kind of hidden might have something to do with it. But yeah, we'll find out. Um, and it's a really cool theory, at the least. Before we leave, let's talk a little bit about weird archaeological stuff. Again, stealing a lot from Tarnished Archaeologist. Um, but note that this city is like 6 different archaeological or 6 different like building styles, architectural styles, just kind of building one on top of the other. So we've got this sort of utilitarian castle like you'd see in um, Storm in Limgrave, which is here, what we're standing on, and sort of close to us. We've got this similar Colosseum over there, but then we've got this sort of gold gilded, tons of spires and stuff, uh, architecture back there. And we can't see it yet, but there's actually a third architectural style kind of down in the Undercity as well. Limgrave is I'm sorry, Lanedell is a fascinating place. Um, and I look forward to getting there and talking about it a little bit. It's enormous. It's difficult to discuss concisely, but it's just a very cool place where they didn't need to put this kind of thought into it, but they're literally just stacked. It's designed almost like a real city, where these like architectural ideas and these like different cultural strata are kind of stacked one on top of another, and you see them all kind of living together, as you see with lots of ancient cities in the real world. So yeah, that's that's our first glance at Lanedell. And notice how far out it is. Like up until now, we had this map, and this was huge on day one. Um, was that no one knew how big the game was. So the fact that this map kept expanding whenever we found a new thing was just such a cool experience to be part of, because we didn't know sort of scope and scale. And it just kept getting bigger and bigger, even though there's so much stuff to do just in Limgrave. It kept exploding how much there was and how much stuff there was to do and it was like almost unbelievable that they'd managed to create something like this. Um, anyway, I think there is a conversation with Marika I haven't had yet. I'm gonna see if I can trigger it here. If not, then we'll call it. Or, I'm sorry, not Merica, Melina. I've got to stop getting those two names mixed up. But anyway.
This tiny golden aura is the grace of the Erdtree. This light once shone in the eyes of your tarnished brethren, but now it is all that guides you. Or so I hear. You can see them, can't you? The rays of grace that guide you through your burden. Upon the cliff in Castle Stormvale is a shard-bearer, a demigod, who inherited a fragment of the shattered Elden Ring. If the rays of grace signal the castle, then the Elden Ring beckons you. As an ally by pact, I pray that you are fit to face the challenge presented by the ring.
We're still a ways away from going to the castle. Of course, you know, the cool thing about the game is that you could just go to the castle now if you wanted. Um, but that's if we're going to do all of the lore and every bit of, you know, content that we have time to do, then we're still a bit away.
Me? I'm searching for my purpose, given to me by my mother inside the Erdtree, long ago, for the reason that I yet live, burned and bodiless. There is something for which I must apologize. I've acted the Finger Maiden, yet can offer no guidance. I am no maiden. My purpose was long ago lost.
Okay, so this mention of being burned and bodiless and being given purpose inside the Erdtree is the subject of a ton of speculation because there isn't a good canonical answer. No one truly knows who this character is. No one truly knows who this character is. And, you know, I have my theory. I'm going to tell people who are familiar with Elden Ring lore tubing already. It's the boring one. But there's lots of valid theories, and there's no confirmation of any of them. But we know that she was given a purpose inside the tree, and then we know that she was burned and that she now has no body. So, yeah. Next session, we're going to talk a little bit about the Walking Mausoleum. We're going to talk about some of the things that are wrong with the Lands Between. And we're going to fight some of those night bosses that I've been putting off. So look forward to it. I will see you then.